Hey everyone, this is going to be a review of the HTC 10, which I have here on the far right side. Now next to it I have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, the LG G5, and the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium. And the reason I have these three phones here is because these are three of the best flagship devices you can buy today. And HTC 10 is in the same week as those, so I'm going to be comparing it at certain points in this review. Now I've only had the HTC 10 for a week, and generally I'll have my phones for about a month before doing a review. But I have had off from work for the past week, and I've been using the HTC 10 as my main phone, so I have a pretty good idea of what it has to offer. So let's just start with a brief overview of the phone, then I'm going to talk about the things I don't like and the things I like. So the HTC 10 uses HTC Sense UI with Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow out of the box. It has a 5.2-inch screen, Quad HD, and it's Super LCD5. It also has a coating of Gorilla Glass 4 on it, so it's hard to break. Now the camera on the rear is 12 megapixels with OIS, and the front-facing camera is 5 megapixels and also has OIS. Internally, you're getting the best you can get on any smartphone. You're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM, a Snapdragon 820 processor, and you can either get this in 32 or 64 gigabytes. You have micro SD card support, 300 milliamp capacity battery. You have a fingerprint scanner at the bottom here, and it supports USB Type-C charging with Quick Charge 3.0. You also have a power button here on the side and a volume rocker next to it. And then at the top you have the headphone jack. Now you can get this phone in three different colors. You can either get it in carbon gray, which is basically black, silver, or gold. And you see here I have the silver version. Really nice aluminum body. So now I'm going to get into things I don't like about the phone. So the first thing is that this phone is not waterproof, and a lot of phones aren't waterproof, so it's kind of hard to count that as a negative. But you see here the Z5 Premium and the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge are waterproof, and for me that's a really important feature. I know a lot of people don't care, but thought it was worth mentioning. Now this phone is slightly water resistant. It's IP53, so if you get a little bit of water on it, it should be fine. But don't go dunking in the water. Another con for me is that this does not have an always-on display. Again, that might seem petty for some of you guys, but after using it a lot on the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge and the LG G5, it's an awesome feature. So you see here it's on for the S7 Edge, so it always lists the time, it always lists if I have missed calls, things like that, so it's great if I just have it waiting on my desk. Feature I did not know I would want, but after having it, it's hard to go back from not having that. And it uses very minimal battery, so hopefully we'll see it on a future HTC phone. Now another thing I don't like about the phone only goes for the United States variant of the phone, and it's that it does not ship with high-res headphones like the rest of the world is getting. In fact, it doesn't ship with any headphones, so that's a disadvantage to all the other phones which ship with headphones. Of course, one of the main selling points of this phone is the sound, so it would have been nice to receive those. Now for these next three things, I was really hesitant whether to include them in the positives or the negatives. They're really more neutral than anything else. I was kind of moving them back and forth between positives and negatives when I was thinking about this. So the first of those is the camera. Now the camera on this I would say is pretty solid. It's definitely an improvement over last year's version, the M9. I don't actually have that phone, but that's what I've heard from other people. Now personally I prefer the camera on the Z5 Premium and the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge to this. Again, this is not a bad camera, it's just not the best. So one of the issues I have is the focusing isn't that good, at least on my model, especially not at night. So this is a video I took. I didn't click on stuff to focus on it, but just an example, a lot of times I find that if I don't actually click on stuff, it won't focus. And that's especially true at nighttime. The focusing at nighttime really isn't that good. Aside from that, I don't really like the night camera in general. Also, it only is 120 frames per second in terms of slow motion video rather than 240 frames per second like some of the newer phones have. So again, the camera is pretty good, but it's just not the best. Now another thing I'm neutral on is the battery life. As I mentioned, it says a 3000 capacity battery. On most days you should be able to get through a full charge, but I found that there are days when I wasn't. Now the battery on this is not bad. It's just not good by flagship standards. It's not as good as say the Galaxy S7 Edge, for example. And for me, the battery, the camera, those are really important factors in a smartphone. So that's why I'm kind of leaning more towards negative than positive for those, just because they're so important to me and they're average at best in terms of flagship devices. The display I'm also neutral on. Again, this has a Quad HD screen, so this is the first HTC phone At least in the United States, has a Quad HD screen, and it is a beautiful looking screen. Outdoors though, it doesn't get that bright. You guys can see a comparison I did on my channel. Now personally, there are things I like about this screen over the S7 Edge, which in my opinion has the best screen. I do like that the HTC 10 is a little more natural looking. The Galaxy S7 Edge screen is really warm. It's kind of cartoony looking in my opinion, but it does look much better outdoors. It's a lot brighter, so for me that takes priority. But you can't go wrong with the HTC 10 screen. It's still a great screen. Alright, so now let's get into the pros. Now the main thing on this is I really like the build quality on it. It's actually my favorite build quality of any phone that I've ever owned, which is saying quite a lot because I think I have around like 15-20 phones. So it's an all aluminum body, really nicely designed. Give you guys a closer look at it. Feels great to hold, really comfortable. Perfect size in my opinion for a phone. And the LG G5 is also supposed to be metal, but in my opinion, so this has kind of like a coating on it which takes away a lot of the appeal. It also doesn't have the nice design that the HTC 10 has. So you see with the HTC 10 you're kind of getting a curved design here, which really makes it comfortable to hold. And it definitely has much more of an aluminum feeling on the HTC 10. Now some of this comes down to preference, but also you can see at the top here, just in my opinion, a much nicer design on the HTC 10. Also really love the power button. This has a nice rigged design there. I also prefer it, so as I mentioned, I like it more than any smartphone I used, but I'll just show you a comparison versus the S7 Edge, which is mostly glass and metal. I do like the S7 Edge design a lot. I just prefer the HTC 10. And quickly show you versus the Z5 Premium, which of course has that reflection on the back. And finally I'll also show you the Z5, which has a frosted back. So again, I do like the Z5 design. It's just not as comfortable to hold. So yeah, very premium design, and also I haven't gotten many fingerprints on it, so that's also a bonus. Now the next thing is performance. This is a really fast phone. As you know, you're getting the best specs you can get today. Snapdragon 820 processor, 4GB of RAM. But I just found that everything is really fast, just really easy, quick to use. Very responsive, and a large part of that is because of the interface on here. So you have HTC Sense UI on here. Very stripped down. It's very basic this time around. Pretty close to stock Android in my opinion. One of the closest I've seen from a manufacturer to stock Android. And also a great thing that they've done is HTC's deleted many of their own apps. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, whenever I'm using a phone, I usually use Google's apps, regardless of whether I'm using a Sony, a Samsung. You know, if there's two versions of the clock, two versions of the calendar, I'm going to use Google's. So I think HTC realized that, and it has deleted most of their apps, which is great. Really frees up a lot of the bloatware on it. Now, unfortunately, I do have the Verizon version and have a lot of pre-installed apps, stuff that I can't remove. But you're going to get that with any smartphone. It's a lot better than the LG G5 interface and also the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge Touch Wiz. On par with the Sony Xperia interface. I really love the interface. Another great feature is the micro SD card support. Great feature, a lot of phones have it, but some don't, so I still feel it's worth mentioning as an advantage. The fingerprint scanner is another great thing about this phone. Now, all major smartphones today have fingerprint scanners, but on this, it's one of the most responsive, one of the quickest ones I've ever used. Really love the fingerprint scanner. Also, as I mentioned, it supports USB Type-C. Also, Quick Charge 3.0. Neither of those features you'll find in Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge or the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium. And finally, the Boomsound on this is great. So HTC, of course, is known for their sound. The headphones, using headphones on this sounds excellent. And the speaker quality is also very good. Now, this is not going to replace, you can get pretty much any portable speaker with Bluetooth, and it will be better quality on the speaker on this. But the speaker is still leagues better than what you'll find on the S7 Edge, for example. So just playing an audio clip right now from my channel, time-lapse I did for the S7 Edge. So again, the speaker is pretty loud, but it's also clear. So at the bottom you have a subwoofer, and then at the top you have a speaker right above the display. Now, in terms of which of these phones is the best, it really comes down to personal preference. So since I've started this channel, I've always mentioned that there's three very important aspects for me in a smartphone, and those are waterproofing, an excellent camera, and excellent battery life. And unfortunately, the HTC 10 doesn't have those features like the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge or the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium have. However, it does beat them in a lot of regards. So if your personal preference, if it comes down to speed, user interface, sound quality, design, then go with the HTC 10. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this phone. It's an excellent phone, has a lot going for it, and it is the best in certain categories. So yeah guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, hopefully you found it helpful. I have a lot of video tests I've done, comparisons versus the phones you see here and other phones, and I have a lot more planned for the future, so if you want to see those, please click on the white dot in the top right corner. And if there's any video requests you have that I don't have in that list, please let me know in the comment section below. Alright guys, thanks again for watching.